that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, plugged in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife.
What?
I had a weird thing. Never mind.
Was that a... What is going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages? Welcome back to the AoA show. I'm your host, as always, Ian, along with my boys, Isaiah.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Gavin.
Yo, 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 yo.
And today, some of you might be very excited to hear what we are talking about, and that is Noblesse. The first episode has officially aired on Crunchyroll. We had read the webtoon up to chapter 50. We also watched the OVA and had an episode on that and our thoughts there. You definitely want to see that if you haven't already, if you want to catch it from the start.
Yeah.
But Noblesse was popular. It was very requested within our comment section, our Discord and stuff like that. So we're like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. We enjoyed the webtoon. The OVA was pretty good. Let's see what we're working with and if we want to continue with the show. So we're here today to talk about our initial impressions of the first episode, what we liked, what we didn't like, if we're excited for the future, our theories, etc. So hopefully you guys enjoy the episode. But if you do like that content, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, sharing with your friends, and commenting your thoughts down below. What did you think of our discussion? What did you think of the first episode? And what do you think of Noblesse as a series? Also, refer to the description where we have links to our Discord. We also have direct donation links through our Patreon there, as well as our social media and our merch shop. If you notice, I'm peeping some new merch today. Gavin, you want to hit that camera angle for me so maybe they can see it?
Yeah,
Boom.
look at that.
Psh. Then also, hang on, can you see it if I turn around?
Oh, yeah, you gotta get the whole... What, bam!
So we have some new merch. My hoodie just came in. I'm very excited about it, and a lot of shirts and stuff like that. But we got everything from pillows to leggings to fanny packs to hoodies, shirts, etc. You name it. We got the whole thing there. So definitely go check that out if you want to rep some merch. Also, if you guys want to listen to us on audio-only platforms, we are on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, etc. If you guys don't have the chance to watch the videos here. But anyway, let's hop into this this initial impressions discussion here. What'd you guys think? Anyone have anything to share right off the rip?
I loved it.
All right. That's it.
We can cut cameras now. We're good. That's it. No, I did, though. I really enjoyed it. I found myself, like, the whole, 22 minutes or whatever, like, just having a good time. And, like, I think, again, I feel like I sound like a broken record, but it's like, if these webtoon adapted anime, like, already are sort of like a different monster, in compared to manga being adapted into anime, in the sense that, like, the pacing is much different because a webtoon is so much, traditionally longer, and, like, there's a lot more detail in between chapters and stuff that you have to, that is in there that you probably have to decide, like, what of that, like, let's just say what of every 40-ish chapters, right, like, has to be cut out to be condensed and fit into a 22-minute episode. But I feel like this worked. I feel like, again, this episode sort of shows you and, like, gives you, a trailer, if you will, of, like, what to expect from this series and what to expect of these characters. The only thing that, like, really, like, sort of makes me stop myself is that, like, there is a barrier in that, like, you can't just jump into this anime and start watching it and, like, be like, and have the reaction I did. Like, I genuinely think if you haven't seen the OVA, if you haven't read any of the, of season 1 of the webtoon, you liking it would be very, like, service level. It'd have to be very, like, oh, these characters are cute, or, like, oh, that was, like, a dope thing that happened, and, like, I like, action, or I like the way these character designs look. But, like, you literally would not understand anything that's going on in this anime specifically, which makes sense because we're starting at season 2. But that is the only thing that I would, as opposed to, like, other anime that are out there, or even Tower of Gods and Your God of High Schools, which do start at the beginning. Like, there is other things you have to get caught up on before you can even jump into this anime. But not only do I think the webtoon, OVA, whatever, however you decide to get caught up, versions are, like, good, but I think this is worth it. I think, again, we've only seen one episode, but there's something very charming, I guess is the word, about Noblesse, about the way that it presents the series, about the way that the characters interact, about the way that, like, it decides to do, like, action and comedy, I don't know. I find just myself like super endeared to all the characters, and it was a good time. It's been a while, to be honest, since I like watched an anime where I was like, I had a good time like the whole 22 minutes. It doesn't happen often.
Yeah, fair enough. Gavin, what'd you think?
No, and I agree with a lot of Isaiah's points, and I did also find it enjoyable. I don't really hold it to their like, I guess, downfall, or like, it's not a negative in my eyes that they started at season 2, like what you mentioned before. For me, it's like, as long as they preface it and they're like, hey, we're picking up from this point. If you don't, like, you're going to be confused if you don't know the rest. I'm cool with that. I hate it when shows do the opposite and you don't know and they just start at a random point. Like, if you tell me it's at this point, thank you. Like, you just saved me time and now are allowing me to get caught up. So I don't really care about that, but I do, again, like the charm of this show. Like, when you watch it, just those little moments that you remember back when you read it, and like it just made you happy, and then you re-see it's like the same version but with a different delivery because you're watching it in a different format. So like, I don't know, for me it hits me just the same as if I read it, and not only do I appreciate that because it can be hard to translate that type of humor like on screen, but I don't know, it's a backbone of the whole show, and right now they're like really doubling down on it, and it's to their strength. And it doesn't bother me, and it actually makes it more entertaining. So I hope it kind of keeps that vibe throughout and doesn't like change too much, because for me, it's like what makes it so entertaining compared to other shows, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that's
makes sense. Yeah, I have 2 pros and 1 con in my initial impression.
Okay.
I would say that the 2 pros of this show, overwhelmingly so, are A, it's comedy. I do think it is actually hilarious. And I found myself looking forward to the comedy almost more than the action at certain points, being like, okay, when's this next funny, quirky thing that Rye is going to do, rather than like, when is he going to beat someone up? Because it's already implied, I think I said this in earlier discussions, but where we are right now in the story, which isn't that far, Rye is almost like a One Punch Man style thing, where it's like he's kind of not bothered by like the main antagonist, because if he comes in, he could literally just look at you and like you're dead. That might change throughout the show, but that's where we are right now. So like, I'm not too concerned about the fights as much as I was the comedy, which is a good or a bad thing, you decide. Really, I thought it was a good thing because it really made me laugh like hysterically when he's like, these humans have something I don't have, and I'm like, genuinely, I'm like, oh, is this gonna be a heartfelt thing? And he's like, a cell phone. Like, he doesn't say that, but he's like, it tells them where to go and they can play games and take pictures. And it's like, oh, cell phone. He needs a cell phone. So then he's in there like, that was really funny. There's some really, or even in the action scene when, again, names evade me here at first episode, but when the meta-human, I'm gonna call him, that they recruited into their ranks basically doesn't want to go and cause a scene because he's on the down low.
Oh, M21.
M21, thank you. Or M23? M23, because M23 and M24, wasn't it? Or did they have 3 separate?
24, yeah.
Oh, 21, 24?
21.
Okay, all right, 21, M21. He doesn't want to go out there, and reveal himself. And Rye literally just comes around the corner, and just stares, just stares at, like, he's like talking to him, like, you want me to... And then
that was all mental thought. Like, he was going on his mind. He's like, why is he looking at me? Like,
yeah. And then he's like, okay, I guess I'll go. And like, Ryan literally just didn't even have to say a word. That was hysterical. So that was a big plus for me. The other plus was kind of in line with that in a sense, but it's that the main characters, and so among main characters right now for me, I would include Rye, Frankenstein, M21, and the kid's name, I can't remember, but he's the red-haired kid. What is it? You? Yeah. Those are like kind of the big 4, at least in my mind, that I considered as like main characters right now. And I will say that all of them for me are very likable. And that's a good thing. There are none of them that I'm like, man, I really don't like seeing this guy on screen, right? When any of them were on screen in their own way, whether they brought comedy or just this like, gut, feeling of action and all that kind of stuff, like, it was really enjoyable to watch. So I did like that a lot. I think that's one of the show's strengths, is that like they could quite literally carry the show for you if all the external shit, like, at some point is like, I'm not really messing with this. So you could at least rely on the characters to do well. I do have one con personally, and this is an anime specific thing over the story as a whole. I personally was not a fan of the OST. I was not a huge fan of the OP, not in the sense of the song, because the song was all right as a standalone, but I didn't like how it fit within the visuals of the OP personally. I thought there was like, it was like really slow. It's really hard to explain. It's really just my opinion on this, so don't take this too personally. Wasn't really vibing with that, and I didn't really vibe in the actual episode how the songs were structured with the scenes. Personally, I thought that some of them took away from like some of the action or some of the things in them, and like didn't make them hit as hard. Because I know there was one huge strength, not to compare this, but I'm just using this as an example. Tower of God, like there were certain scenes for me that like got bumped to that next level because it was like the soundtrack just fit so well and hit at the perfect moment for me to have that scene bump up a notch. I didn't really get this feeling with this first episode personally, but it's only an episode. We'll see where they go from there. And I wasn't really a fan of the ED either, to be honest with you. It was interesting how you like showed that thing, that side swipe thing. It was like, okay, that's different, but like wasn't a huge fan of, like, the song was all right, and I thought the visual was a little weird again as well. So that would be my one con with the show, would be the soundtrack, but very funny, likable characters. I'm just really curious to see now how I enjoy the action, because there are a couple action scenes within this in the beginning when we have the army getting obliterated by, you know, the said squad. And that was pretty cool, but like, it was like, okay, you could throw a couple flashy things in, but like, I don't think we've really seen something go down yet. And then, you know, when the bully, who's just a giant, you know, comes up because the, you know, our boy's hitting on his girl at the one point, or hitting on his girl, really just helping her not fall. Like, that was a funny scene, but B, it was like action, but not really, because he was just so outclassed that it was like we didn't really get to see the full skills of everyone displayed. So I'm curious to see if that's going to drag me in, and I hope it does, because that would just be another thing on top of it all. But that's my initial impression. Did anybody have any like standout things in the episode? Any characters that they really jived with, or anything else that they wanted to talk about?
I did like the OST. It's weird because for me, I think it was actually, somebody brought this up in the Discord like a few days ago, where it's like OSTs for me are weird because I like them if I notice them so much that, like, sort of like what we were saying with Tower of God, where it's like I'm watching the scene and then like I pick up on the OST and I'm like, the scene is dope, and like the OST is hitting, and so it amplifies it. But I also really like OSTs when they blend in so seamlessly with what I'm watching that I don't even like pick it apart. That I don't even recognize it. And I feel like the latter is what I was getting with Noblesse. Where like I was enjoying the package so much, and I didn't even like, I liked the OST, but like because it didn't hit me, like because I didn't even, it was just like it became part of this like whole mesh thing, like that was the episode, which is pretty cool. I like the OP and ED as songs. I think it was like with the visuals, it was like a weird presentation, you know, like, I don't know, it just hit weird. The OP I liked a lot more than the ED, mainly just because the OP, like, there's obviously like a lot more going on visually. But I do think, I don't know, it's weird. It's like I didn't really like the visuals, but I like think they kind of work for Noblesse, at least from what I know of it. I don't know. I'm like kind of in this very weird middle place with it. But like I said, I like the songs, and like the music definitely works for the show. It all kind of like, again, blended together for me to create this, like, you know, vampire supernatural people like are in the modern world, and like, you know, it all worked to sort of give me this cohesive feeling of what I think the Noblesse story is. And I think that, obviously, like we said before, combined with the characters, was just fantastic.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Gavin, what do you got?
Well, now I got to give my opinion on the OSTs, because obviously everybody, hot take.
That means it's going to be bad.
You're correct.
Because I do the same thing.
Yeah, you're correct.
Everybody here does that. I have a hot take. My opinion is a no.
The ED is actually like hot trash. I'm not a fan of the song and the video or the visuals. Nah. The OP, a little bit better. The song, again, super hot garbage. But the visuals, I am okay with. Different songs, and the ED just needs to pretend like it never existed, and then we'll be fine.
Fair enough. What'd you think of the OST in the show? Like, you know, how it translated with the scenes?
You know, and that's interesting because honestly, so this is going to be a negative, I guess, because I didn't really notice it. So there was nothing that I really like it. You know how when we watch God of High School, for example, and like I'll be sitting there and then you hear the OST and your whole body's like,
as soon as like when a fight's gonna start, you get that bump and you're like, all right, let's do this.
And I don't feel any of that from Noblesse. I don't know if it's because I haven't worn headphones or I didn't listen to, like, it was through a TV, like being streamed off my phone. So like I don't know if anything's lost in translation there, but either way, it didn't stand out for me to actually notice. So I guess it's not a negative because I really don't know. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
But in a positive, it's not something that I
Fair enough,
visually,
pretty
like,
neutral.
Or, like, actually
Yeah,
heard
it was a
and hated.
very small gripe with me. I like
Yeah.
overall, I really liked it. That was like a small thing.
Yeah, because I don't
you
really
know?
notice anything like as the show's playing. Like I don't know. I
Yeah.
never really.
Yeah,
Well, that's
yeah.
what I was saying, but I was saying earlier, I actually like I would say that that's a positive for me personally, where it's like again, it blends in so much to the show that like it doesn't hit me. It doesn't,
Yeah.
my brain doesn't pick it up.
That's interesting, right? Because it's like, yeah, you can take that same exact scenario and it could technically, based on perspective, be a positive or a negative.
Yeah.
Like it's not necessarily one or the other.
Yeah.
So I find
Like,
that
for me,
to be
it's
an
only
interesting
bad
topic.
if I notice it and it sucks. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
if it takes me out of the episode and I'm like, what is this ass music playing? Like,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it's like bad. But if I don't notice it because it just sort of blends with
Yeah.
the episode, I'm like,
That was for me
Exactly.
personally. Like I noticed it a little and I was like, this doesn't jive. But anyway, like everything else was really awesome. Did anyone because there's like the big four, at least the way I'm seeing it right now. You have to pick one. Who's the favorite? Have to pick one. I mean, this can change, but I'm very curious to see where you are right now with the four characters because they are all very likable. I would say the big, really, like M21, I could see, some people like he might be the big three, but I would consider M21 as a pretty integral part of this story because he has like his own goals and mission, and like he was shown a
dude.
lot.
There was like a
episode,
segment of this episode where I was like, we're just watching like some wholesome vampire like slice of life thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like he comes to this
Yeah.
thing and he's
Facts.
like, I've lost my purpose for living. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. And Frankie's like, but you can find a new one
Yeah.
with us. He's like, no, I can't.
Dude, I
and
like
then,
that scene,
learns the whole lesson, and like at the end he's like, I'm gonna live an ordinary life. And
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
come with me. And it's like, what?
I love that scene where he's with M24 and he's like, let's go find our names. And like, they're going to do it. And he's like, I'm going to do this for you. And it's like, damn, dude,
Because
that's
again,
hard.
in
M21, what you doing?
in the OVA and in season 1, we don't really get a whole lot of M24 before we meet him, right? So he kind of comes off as like the big brute guy and he's here to do this mission, whatever, and he has like the moment where he sacrifices himself where you sort of get a little bit a glean into his character.
Sure.
But obviously now through M21 I feel like is where we're going to get much more backstory into him, and it's cool to see that again these guys were not just grapes of the bunch, right? Like that they had this level of individualism and complexity to them, and they just wanted to live. They wanted to be worth something. And my boys Rye and Frankie gave that to bro.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about Rye and Frankie for just a few hundred minutes?
Well, would you say with the question that I posed before that one of them is your favorite so far? And if so, you got to choose one. Or maybe not.
I guess it comes down to like, do you want to spoil a nigga or do you want a nigga to spoil you? Because I feel like if I can get off on a tangent for a minute, I feel like
I know exactly what
the main difference here is like Frankie is gonna spoil you, but like you got to spoil Rye. And I gotta be honest, like I'll spoil a nigga, bro. I'll fuck with Rye.
I thought you were gonna go the other way and want to be spoiled.
No, I want, you know what it is? I want Frankie to be my dad, bro. I want like after a long day of no. I want to come home after a long day of work or podcasting and be like, man, this was rough. And then he comes down and sits on the couch and pours me some tea and he's like, what's up? What's going on? You had a rough day? And I'm like, it's just these days are getting longer, man. I don't really know what's on the other side for me. He's like, that's why you got to keep moving, bro.
Rye.
No, that would be
No,
Frankie.
no,
Frankie.
Frankie.
Oh,
Because then on the weekends
yeah.
I go over Rise and
Yeah.
then we hang out and I spoil and we have a good time and all that stuff. I'm just gonna slowly write my own fan fiction about me, Frankie, and Rise.
Dude, they're all so likable. Gavin, did you have one?
See, for me,
And it doesn't have to be any of them, by the
no,
way.
for me,
Yeah.
it's two things almost similar to Isaiah.
Okay.
You can have the cutes, or you could have the actual decent, probably compatibility partner. So Frankie and Rye, because like I don't know, I'd probably pick Frankie though over the two.
It's so hard to choose.
Yeah, Frankie, he's a G, and like he's always there. He's the Rock.
Yeah,
He's the Rock.
he is.
He really is.
I've gotta
But that scene in the OP when that villain like comes up on Y and Frankie on a f***ing bullet drop just turns and clotheslines that nigga. I'm like, that's a loyal man right there.
Dude,
That's
he's
what you want.
savage. But actually, my favorite character is it Hugh or it's like Shisui? Is his last name Hugh?
I think Yu is his first name. I don't know, man, because in the episode his friend refers to him as Yuchan, and nobody refers to him by his other name, but it is mentioned in the webtoon, and that's what they call him in the webtoon. So I don't, whatever.
Yeah, that's my bad, guys. It's only been an episode, and it wasn't super fast paced, but it was moving a little quick, so it was like hard for me to get everyone's name except for the main ones.
Well,
they
literally don't say it.
Yeah, it was hard for me to pick up. Anyway, y'all know who I'm talking about. He is my favorite character, actually, out of all of them. I love the fact that he is merely human, but he is like incredibly badass, and like it gets overshadowed by the people that could like control your mind and like shoot laser beams out of their hands. So it's like, all right, like you got a lot to go up against here. But like as your high school student, he's kind of a G, you know, like he'll just dive, at least from the webtoon that we've read in the OVA that we watch, he'll just dive head on and like hold his own against people that he has no business holding his own against, or at least you would think so. Yeah. And I just thought that was awesome. Like it's really inspiring, like especially when it comes out with a cast and starts fighting that dude that's like got a foot on him,
100%.
You know, probably outweighs him by 100 pounds. And like, but he also has this like naive thing about him, like where he's like very likable. He's like, you know, and he you know, when he saves the girl and he's like, oh miss, you know, and it's like, dude, I wasn't hitting on her, like relax, dude. Like, you know, it's like, because you know, some of those characters could go down the road of, you know, because he's pretty badass of being like, oh, you know, like a little bit of cockiness, you know, with it. But he's like pretty grounded, and he's like, guy, you know, there's more to life than this right now. Like, you should probably just head on home. And like, you know, I don't know. I like him. He's really respectable.
He really like just kind of seems to have his shit together. You know? And it's like, as somebody who, you know, you said it again, like, in comparison to your Frankie and Rise, it's like he's always kind of going to end up on second base. But like, nigga, second base is like pretty.
You know what he reminds me?
Close.
He's like an organized mess, if that makes any sense. Because like his character sometimes is like, like he's doing all the things like taking pictures of the notes. It's like, put your phone away, and he's like getting into trouble and all that stuff. But like at the end of the day, he has a good heart, and you know that he's got his head in the right place. So like I really enjoy that. But 100%. I like all the characters. Like Frankie is just. Just like Frankie's, you're just like, dude, Frankie is like the friend you need, like the friend we need, but we certainly don't deserve. Like that man is loyal to a T, and Rye is just absolutely hysterical. Every single time I look at him, he doesn't even have to do anything funny, but just everything that I've known and accumulated so far in my head, I just start laughing every time I see him, because I know he's going to do something that's going to make me laugh. And sometimes he doesn't even do anything that's supposed to make you laugh, and I laugh.
Which is what's funny.
It's it's hilarious.
Or it's like just the way, like, so I thought when we started way back with the webtoon, when we started reading this, that the whole like fish out of water, dry comedy kind of bit was going to get old on me. But like it doesn't. Like the fact that like he'll come up to Frankie after a day of like school, and he's like, I like the humans, like these humans are remarkable. Like they say that they have this thing that makes like the way he talks about things, because it's like the era he's from, and it's like, so Frankie has to like listen to what he's saying, decode it, and then like analyze it in the context of like modern times and be like, oh, he's talking about it. But then it's always like the most important thing, like Frankie takes it 110% serious. He's like, oh no, he needs a cell phone. Like, and it like, oh, like, I just love it. Yeah. And of course he goes out and buys him like the most expensive, like the newest fucking phone on them. Oh, I just love it.
So funny, man. That duo, it's like I was saying, it's like name a better duo. I'll wait.
Yeah, that ass.
They are an awesome team. But anyway, those are my thoughts personally. I don't know if did you guys have anything else to add or anything like that? I'm pretty much.
Yeah, I mean that was a lot of the episode. I mean, there was definitely some foreshadowing, right? With like I guess who are going to be the current villains that group that kind of fucked up somebody's army somewhere. And the leader, right, works for the organization because that's what he mentions at the end. He's like, doesn't like, whatever. We just got to make sure the organization is satisfied or proud or whatever. So I guess it's a countdown until how long Frankie or one of them fucks those dudes up or whatever. But I'm curious, I guess, like where, like what the first objective here is, like narratively, right? Because it's like, okay, we're all here and we're all Frankie and like we're all doing the high school thing, and we have the organization who's clearly sort of on the supernatural side of things. It's like when I wonder like how those things are going to meet to a point where there's no longer, because it still feels like there's a separation between the two, right? So I wonder at what point those two sides are going to meet, and at what point the show is going to feel like all of that is like now mixed and intermingled with each other, instead of like, oh, school stuff's happening and then supernatural vampire stuff's happening. And then just also like what the point is, because we know the organization is sending these beings or whatever to the city, like to look for this coffin. But it's like, you know what I mean? I guess like when are they going to find out that like the coffin's already, like when does that part of the narrative, I guess, like move forward. And like again, this is literally the first episode, but I'm curious, I guess, to see how fast or not how slow the pacing of the narrative.
No,
goes.
I agree, and I think too. Also, when they after the ending credits, when they showed the two what appear, I would assume would be siblings or from the same clan or whatever. They both have the white hair, and I believe those are vampires. Those two, at least that's my theory, as opposed to the squad who are those human experiments. So I think there's going to be, you know, the human element and also the warring vampire broods, you know, like from different nations or whoever that are, you know, competing for whatever. And I know I'm already going to get a comment being like, they're not vampires. I get it. I'm calling them vampires. Okay. They're like 99.9% similar across the board. So I'm going to call them vampires and I'm sticking with it anyway. But yeah, that's what that's what I'm predicting is going to happen. Like there's going to be some like 3-way war type thing. You know what I mean? Where it's like they all got their own thing going on, different objectives. So hopefully they could piece together the action and also, like you were saying, you know, make it into like a cohesive plot and storyline. But I don't know. Gavin, end us off. What do you got to say?
Ooh, what do I got to say? I'm going to throw a curveball. And those last two people at the end, I agree more with your side and everything that you said, but however, my initial impression was that maybe they're like, I don't want to say relatives, but maybe friends of like Rye.
Okay.
Yeah, and Frankie. I don't know why. I just saw something about it and I'm like, they look evil. They probably are. But something about me is like, they know a little something, like they know too much, and I feel like there might be some good guys like pulling out for them. So
who beats
we'll
them then?
have to see. What?
I said, who wins? If they're friends with Ryan, Ryan's already Ryan. Like, who the hell, dude? Who the hell's going to stand a chance against that squad? Like, it's insane.
Nobody, bro. The whole show is just everybody converting to Rye's side because Frankie has cookies.
And if they don't, then he will literally force them to convert to his side.
Neil. Crazy, man.
Wild.
Anyway, that's all we have for our thoughts on the first episode of Noblesse. We definitely enjoyed it, and we're excited to see where the show goes. Again, let us know what you thought about this episode and what you think about Noblesse as a series. Do you enjoy it? Do you not? What did you think of this first episode, and what did you think about our discussion? Make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell. But until next time, we will catch you on the flip. Peace.
Later.
Peace.
Hey, you know what it is, dog. Ninjas are samurais, blazing the kunais. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly.